Nope. Good everything and welcome back to Tesla's Wild. Today I have kind of a fun video for all of you. So in all of my time owning the Tesla Model 3, I've been extremely curious about what the smallest thing it is able to see. So it has Summon and Autopilot and all of these autonomous features, but what size of an item will this car be able to stop for and recognize and not crash into? It's been on my mind a lot. It's just been a curiosity, so I kind of wanted to figure it out. All right, so we've got a variety of items that I've got laid out over here that we're going to see whether or not the Tesla Model 3 can actually see while summoning the vehicle. I'll actually get inside and see if the onboard visualization can also see them and what it displays them as. So let's go over the items that we have here. I've got quite the variety. All right, so on the right here we have my snowboard, we have a chair, we have a can of spray paint, we have a recycling bin, we have a longboard, we have a bottle of soda, we have my snowboarding helmet, we have a trash can, and most importantly, we have me. So I'm going to do a couple runs where I'm standing in front of the vehicle and seeing whether or not it sees me. I might lay in front of the vehicle. We'll do a few different tests based on the results of these to see how well it can see a human in different types of positions. All right, so we are starting with the trash can. We're going to start Summon here. All right, so that was too easy. It definitely recognized it and it shut the garage door. Good job. All right, so just driving towards the trash can, we can see that it's likely just going to display it as we are getting closer to something. And you can see the driving visualization show up with these red lines, and it is detecting exactly how far away it is from the trash can. All right, so now we have set up the folding chair about the same distance. We're going to turn on Summon here. No problems whatsoever with the chair. All right, so the same situation here. You can see the chair is up front. We have the car in drive, and we're going to be driving forward and see what the display sees here. Like usual, you can see it is showing the distance we are away from the chair. Pretty simple, does a very good job. All right, so as you can see, we do have the recycling bin out now. We're going to try and summon it forward. And again, absolutely no problems. All right, so this one's going to be a bit harder to film, but you can see the recycling bin right there. We're going to do our usual. Just drive forward and show what's on the display. So same exact thing. It is able to sense this recycling bin, which is probably about 18 to 20 inches tall. All right, next up, as you can see, we have my snowboard. I did use my helmet to prop it up so that it is absolutely vertical. All right, so we're turning on Summon. And again, absolutely no problems. All right, so again, a difficult thing to film, but you can see the snowboard in front of me here. So we're just going to drive on forward nice and slow and monitor. Yep, you can see that it pops up there and shows an exact distance away from the vehicle. All right, so now as you can see, we do have my longboard out. I did not lay it on its side because that would have been too similar to the snowboard. So in this case, I've laid it down on its wheels, which means that it has maybe 5 inches above the ground. Let's go ahead and turn on Summon here. All right, so that it would have not noticed whatsoever. It would have kept going. So maybe we found the limit. This was the first thing that I was actually kind of curious about. All right, so as we can see, the longboard is in place up here. So we're just going to drive forward very slowly and see if anything is picked up on the on-screen visualization here. So it looks like it did briefly notice it for a second, but then it did not. So maybe that's what we saw earlier as well. All right, now as we can see, we do have the soda in place. This is a 2-liter soda. It's probably got about 12 inches of height, about the same distance away from the vehicle. So we're going to start up Summon. Oops. All right. So yes, it did not see the soda, as you can tell. All right. So as you can see, the soda is in front of the vehicle. So we're going to do our same exact thing, drive forward and see if it notices it. So it does. It does do the same thing, indicating there's something close. But it then again forgets about it, which is really interesting considering this is a much taller item. From our previous tests, I am going to venture a guess that both the helmet and the paint can would both fail for summon, or summon would not be able to detect these based on their heights and width. Just for fun of it, we're going to put them out front and see if it does detect them, but finally I'm going to do a few positions and see if it hits me. All right, so we have the helmet in place and we're going to turn on summon now. The vehicle is turning. Very interesting. Why on earth did it do that? Anyways, it is not stopping. It's going to ride on over that. The helmet is about 6 inches tall, which is as expected. And finally, we do have the paint can in place, the spray paint. So this I automatically think is going to be a fail as well, just based on the overall object size. But let's give it a try anyways. And yep. As expected, it knocks that paint can right over. All right, so we've done a bunch of testing here. I'm gonna see a couple different positions for myself, if it will stop or not, and then we're gonna get back in the vehicle and talk about the overall results. All right, so we all know that a person standing up is easily detectable by a Tesla, but we're gonna do it just for fun anyways. I'm gonna be facing away from the vehicle, so let's get summon started right now. All right, so we have turned summon on. Sounds like the vehicle is in drive. Should be coming towards me. I'm not looking at all. And, oh, okay. It is right behind me here. So as you see, that was totally successful. It did exactly what it's supposed to be doing. So one interesting that I'm noticing when I'm doing all of these reverse summons to get the car back in position is it is noticing maybe this drop off here, and every single time it pauses about 3 feet from the edge of the driveway, which is interesting to see. All right, and finally, we are going to sit down on the driveway and have it come this way. So let's get summon started. Definitely very weird. It feels like it's stopped, so you can see with plenty of margin, it's got about 2 feet behind me here, no problems whatsoever detecting a human. All right, so like I said, this time I'm gonna be laying down. I'm gonna put my feet towards the vehicle and see if it notices me this way. So let's get this out. Cool, so you guys can see. All right, summon is enabled. And let's get ready to cancel it. Nope. So yeah, as you saw, it was going to definitely hit me there. It's about 3 inches away from my feet. Very, very close. So a person laying down on the ground will not be seen by a Tesla in summon, and likely would not be detected by autopilot either. All right, so there we have it. We've done a bit of research, a fun experiment on what kind of objects can this vehicle detect when summoning the vehicle, and ultimately when driving in autopilot, and any of the emergency features like emergency braking. We introduced a variety of different items to test exactly what it would see. So in order to understand why this vehicle sees what it does, we need to look a bit more into the hardware that's used to detect things for autopilot and for the vehicle to see and understand. So overall, we have 3 different components that make up this vehicle's detection system. There are cameras, including the forward-facing, 2 quarter panels, sides, and rear. There are also radar. There's forward-facing radar, as well as ultrasonic sensors. So these are the 3 components that make up the Tesla Model 3's detection system. Mostly, I believe, in this sort of situation, it is relying on the radar as well as the ultrasonic sensors. So let's talk a little bit more about what these are. So let's first talk about ultrasonic sensors. Ultrasonic sensors are a very cool little device, and what they do is implied by their name. They are a device that's used to measure the distance between objects using an ultrasonic wave. So basically, it emits a wave, which is then reflected off of an object and returned back to the sensor, and it uses an equation to determine the distance between the sensor and the object of interest. So the equation used to calculate the distance is very simple. It's just 1/2 times the time taken between emission and the receiving of the wave back times the sonic speed c. So this is a very simple equation. So this is basically what's implemented. This sensor is shooting out a lot of ultrasonic waves, which are then reflected back, and it calculates the difference between the sensor and the object of interest using this equation over and over again. It has some built-in safeguards, such as if this object is less than or equal to this distance away, you need to slow down, and at this point you need to stop immediately. So the other component to this is radar, also inherent in the name. This has to deal with radio waves. It's a very similar type of system as the ultrasonic sensor, but it uses a different medium. So basically what this does is it emits high frequency radio waves that then propagate out, reflect back, and it measures the exact same thing. So Tesla is using a combination of ultrasonic sensors as well as radar to judge the distance and size of objects near the vehicle. So another thing we need to talk about when it comes to these waves that are being emitted by the ultrasonic sensors as well as the radar is as they get further away from the vehicle, they spread out and become weaker. So this has a pro and a con. So the pro is that as it gets further away from the vehicle, it expands and it can see a wider field of view. The con is as it gets further away, it gets more spread out, less intense, and it's not as easy for it to get reflected back to the vehicle. So that's why you see a lot of these having a very sensitive range, that if this object is beyond this distance, it's not going to be detected. So I think why some of these we saw in some of these situations, the smaller objects were initially detected, is because at that point we were far enough away that the wave was big enough that it actually did hit this object and reflected back to the vehicle. But because the vehicle was still moving, in that time it got too close and the wave no longer was able to expand enough in order to detect that object. Basically, this is what it comes down to. The size of the object, meaning the height, the width, but it also comes down to how far away it is. So if it's in the usable effective range of the sensors and it has a reasonable cross section that will actually reflect these waves back, then it will likely be detected. But as we saw with the 2-liter soda bottle, it was not able to detect this, and I figured that it's because the width was not wide enough. It was within the field of view, but it just was not big enough to effectively reflect these waves back. Now, with humans, this is probably the most important thing. As we saw, when I was standing, it was easily able to detect me there and stopped with plenty of time. This is also true for when I was sitting on the pavement. It stopped with plenty of time, no problems whatsoever. And where we really started to see an issue is when things were too flat to the ground. So we saw this with the longboard. It was only about 5 inches off the ground. This signaled to me that it was not going to be able to detect me if I was laying down on the ground. Yet alone, we did test this just to make sure. It was not able to detect me when I was laying on the ground. If the vehicle was further away, it would likely be able to detect that I was there. However, as it got closer, it would become harder and harder. And what this thing is looking for, especially at these slow speeds, is within a very small distance because it has plenty of time to stop. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is definitely more on the track that I really enjoy. We're talking about sort of engineering principles, how things work on the Tesla, how this thing was engineered to do what it does, and why it is so good at some things and where it is sort of lacking. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to smash that like and subscribe button down below. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. As always, I have a lot of new content coming your way, so make sure you stay tuned, and we'll see you guys next video.